Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Doctor Who Season 10, Episode 7. It's called The Pyramid at the End of the World. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, this was followed on from last week. The threat, the monks, the deranged
Yeah.
looking dudes in the red robes. They are indeed the antagonist of this episode. And
Yeah.
it's basically the a UN ambassador comes to see Bill, interrupts her date with the same girl from the last episode that happened in the virtual reality world, just because
While she was telling her that in that world they got interrupted by the Pope.
I feel like. I mean, I'm not saying that it would have worked for the Pope in this episode, but I feel like this would have been funnier had it been the UN guy last time and then it was the Pope the second time. I feel like it's
Yeah,
a
it's
bit of
more
a
absurd, isn't it?
yeah. I feel like going down to the UN guy feels like a decrease in absurdity.
It is, but I guess the counter argument to that is this is the real world, so it's more absurd because it's actually happening.
I'm watching Doctor Who. Absurd shit's happening on a minute to minute basis. I don't.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
But they're like, oh, we need a doctor, and she goes to the doctor, and he's the president of the world, and they
Yeah, I like that they remembered this.
take him out to this pyramid that's just appeared, just one day not there, one day next day it is, and it's these monks, and they're like, look, something's about to happen. Doomsday clock comes up. Uh, if you ask for our help and give in and sort of concede that you're now ours, we will save the world. And of course, the doctor's like, no, that's a bad idea because who knows what they're going to do
Yeah,
once
you
they're
don't
in
want to give up
charge.
your planet just like that, do you?
No. So that's kind of the gist of it. And there's obviously, meanwhile, the actual threat that they're talking about is a bacteria sort of outbreak. That we sort of see these two characters that are in a lab, sort of doing experiments and stuff, and you can sort of tell that that's what that's building up to. Like this is where the thing that's going to cause the apocalypse is coming from this lab. You sort of get that sense pretty early on,
Yeah,
just from the correlation between the two scenes or two
yeah.
plot threads. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was interesting how it followed on so directly from the previous episode, but it's not a part two. It's just more serialized storytelling than we typically get in Doctor Who at the minute. Without it, unless it's like, multiple parts.
No, I like that too. I enjoyed the episode. I think we're on to a bit of a stride because I
Yeah,
really liked the
I
last one.
noticed this one was co-written by Moffat. This one, so he's still he's clearly very involved in this, this alien threat, the monks.
I like how you pay attention to that, just so you can blame them when you don't like something.
Oh no, I pay attention to the writers on most of the episodes of Doctor Who because
Okay,
there's typically a set pool, and I know what to expect if I see a certain name come up.
okay. No, I liked it. I thought there was a couple of clunky elements, and one or two. Why don't they just do this? Sort of thing. But no, overall, I liked it. I liked it. The pyramid was mysterious. It felt
Yep.
proper big. It felt everyone coming together. The idea of these the two, well, I say leaders. They're representatives of each of the armies from
Yeah.
China, France, and America. Like them working together was kind of fun. The actual scientists build up. I thought was actually kind of suspenseful. I was kind of like, oh, like it feels like the whole idea of the doom being just some random accident in a lab somewhere felt oddly like down to earth.
Yeah. It was the idea that it wasn't this war causing it. Because obviously there's that great moment where they're all like, right, well, if this is us, then screw it, we ain't fighting because we're not being responsible for that.
And
And then
obviously,
it's just
they
nothing to do with
they
them.
accept the threat is real, of course, because the monks take them in the pyramid and like have them like touch their data streams, which shows them what the future is going to be. It
Yeah,
shows them the planet in a year's time, which is just a desolate wasteland with hurricanes and whatnot, no life to be seen, and all that kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, so no, I had fun with this. This felt this had elements of like old like 50s and 60s science fiction that I kind of liked, where it was about standing around and trying to figure something out
yeah.
rather than actually having like adventures and stuff. And I know that maybe sounds at face value like a more boring idea, but I actually really like that.
No, I agree with you.
That said, it falls down a little bit just under scrutiny because at one point they're like, all right, these beings they have studied us from inception till now, like every single part of human history. They have studied and they've looked at it, and this is why they know all this stuff and all the rest of it. We can't do that in 2 minutes. Well, he does have a time machine. He can go back in time and get to work in the past. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's just this is one of those things you just got to go with, isn't it?
I know what, I get that. I feel like, don't point out that it's a time constraint. Unless the TARDIS is off limits, unless for some reason they can't get to the TARDIS, in which case, fair enough.
I agree. And usually when this is when it is a time constraint and they want that, they do make the TARDIS off limits by whatever means. If, either it's whatever or you just can't be reached.
Yeah, it's trapped in a place behind something.
They do typically actually do something like that. This did feel like a strange exception where they left it there anyway.
That's it. I actually really I liked how the Doctor kind of got to it. He was asking, I think it's Nardole who says bacteria, and then he starts going down the rabbit hole of, okay, because what I thought was funny is because I think it's Nardole that searches for bacteria labs or whatever, and is there's 100,000 on the planet right now, and he's like, all right, limit those to this type of bacteria, 8,000, limit that to the ones that are in stage 2. 5,000, and then eventually he got down to 430. He eventually got down to that, and someone's like, "Oh, that's still too many," and I'm like, "That's pretty." I mean, it started at 100,000. He's narrowed it down pretty well from there.
Yeah, it's pretty solid, isn't it?
It's a pretty good start. And then the way he actually finds it's actually quite smart. I thought, turn off all the cameras and then see which ones the powerful beings who can just turn things back on. Which one do they turn back on?
Yeah, because they don't care about the rest.
Because that's what they're watching. I like that. That was a fun detail. I liked how I was figuring out. And one thing is that when he actually did start figuring out the bacteria stuff, it brought in his weird remix of the Last Doctor's theme.
Yeah.
They haven't done that too often. I remember them doing it at the end of season 8, but I don't remember them doing it too much since.
No. I kind of liked it here though. I feel like when it was in season 8, it was a bit too. It was just too fresh, still too close to the previous.
I also think the reason why it stood out as being kind of weird and false in season 8 is because it happened in the finale. It's basically when he's discovering who he is, because all season he has this identity crisis, and then he has this moment where he's giving this speech about who he is, and I'm like, you're playing the Last Doctor's theme for this moment?
Yeah, and obviously at that point that piece of music was so overplayed, and I was sick of it, frankly. I generally speak, I like it if you put it on now, but at that point in time I was sick of it.
And
but hearing it again now, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and obviously he's got a slightly darker version. And speaking of his theme, though, I thought the moment where they used his theme in this episode was really odd and just kind of random.
It's not the first time that's happened this season, is it?
It's not. It happened in the first episode. I remember talking about it. But it seems to happen every so often where they just put in his main theme. Because his main theme's pretty epic. It's, the big brass comes in, it's countdown to... It's action music.
I think that's the problem. They overdid it. Maybe. It's a good piece of music when you think about it. It's this big, massive, epic thing.
Well, I don't
it doesn't suit all of the episodes.
Well, I think to me, it's not so much that they overdid it, it's that they should have another version of it, which has the same core melody, but could be played out
in the sense that they've never done that for Doctor Who. They've got the theme, that's it.
Which is weird, because just to compare it to something else, because Doctor is essentially a superhero. Just to compare it to The Flash, just think of how many variations you've heard of over the show. There's sad versions of his theme, happy versions, exciting versions, big brass versions, sort of quieter piano or strings, tons of versions.
I have to wonder, because obviously they get in the difference between them is obviously those superhero CW shows we're talking about there, they don't have a live orchestra for that. It's all in the box on the computers. With the virtual instruments, whereas
might not all
Doctor
be
Who
like
is,
that, but
no, I've seen all the behind the scenes stuff. Almost all of it, 95% of it on those shows is.
Well, the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of the composers for those shows actually do bring in some real instruments to pepper throughout to give it more of a real feel.
They have little bits here and there, but it's typically the stranger instruments that they use. But this is just it's the orchestra. They book them out. They have them for whatever time slot they've got, and that's it for the season. In the same way you would when you score a movie. So in that sense, I suppose it was maybe just at the time constraints. They went, right, this is what we need for this season. Let's get it all blocked out and do it all at once.
I would criticize. I don't think that's a fair excuse, because okay, you don't want to score everything exactly sort of to a scene. All right, fine, because you don't have the whole season to do it to. But I don't think it takes that much foresight to go, we'll probably need a camera version of this epic theme.
No, I agree with that. Maybe there is one. I know famously Murray Gold had some real fights with the producers where they wouldn't use pieces of his music that he'd done. This was a bit, a few years ago now.
Hmm.
They all ended up on the CDs and stuff anyway, but they wouldn't use them in the show. So I wonder if this is another scenario where he has written one and given it to them,
Hmm.
but the producers are insisting on, we need that version.
It's so weird. It felt so out of place during this because it was just him and Nardole on the ship just talking,
Yeah, yeah.
and just his brass is playing, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
Like,
no, you're right. I have to assume it's an executive decision somewhere because it feels like a very strange creative choice.
you know what? I'm okay if you want to make sure it's in every episode. Like, I'm fine with that, but just pick a better moment.
Yeah,
If anything,
yeah.
play it when you're playing the remix of Matt Smith's theme. It would have worked well enough there.
Well, I would have, yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't know what the thought process was there. Um, so obviously this episode, I think, cause it was funny because last week we talked about this, and I said, "Oh, this feels like it's maybe the big threat for the season." And you said, "Oh, I don't think it's going to be a big. It'll be like maybe a two-parter where we get the resolution next time."
Yeah.
And it might not necessarily be the full season now, but it's definitely more than just two episodes
Oh, it is, yeah.
because the end of this definitely makes it even more interesting. It actually, because so the whole thing is that they want the world leaders, or I say leaders again, representatives of the various armies to like ask for help, and it has to be sincere. It
Yeah.
has to be not out of fear. It has to be not a strategic.
Yeah, it has to be from a place of love, is what they keep
Yeah,
saying.
and they sort of hint that Bill might have to make this choice at some point, even though it doesn't really make sense why she would have to make the choice. But at the end of the episode, she's the only one there because everyone else who tries to make the choice and it's not genuine, they get disintegrated. Which, by the way, I thought that effect looked quite good.
It did actually.
The turning to ash effect looked quite good.
Yeah, I thought that goes for as well. You know, when the guy turns to gunk in the lab.
I was, I think,
I don't think it
yeah,
was quite as good, but I thought, yeah, it's not
I
bad.
think the problem with that effect though is that's inherently very goofy.
Yeah, it is.
So it almost just can't impress me. Whereas turning to dust and it collapsing it looks depressing. It looks like they've been hit by a
Mm.
nuclear bomb.
No, I get what you're saying.
It's more of a serious effect, so it stuck
Yeah,
out as being striking. But so she's ultimately because she finds out eventually that Doctor's blind at the end of the episode because he's like, okay, I found a lab. We can neutralize this by going there and blowing it up. The fire will take care of the bacteria. That's the plan. But he can't get out because the dial to let himself out, even though the scientist who's there is telling him the code, but no matter what he can do, he can't see the numbers, and there's no camera. Nardle's knocked out in the ship because he had some of the bacteria in him. I was sure he'll be fine, but he's knocked out for this,
yeah,
and the doctor can't do it. So he's talking to Bill, and he's like, "Look, if I have to go, I have to go, but don't make the deal." And she turns around and gets his eyesight back by making the deal. So
yeah. For her, I really like her logic for it as well, though, because for her, it's yeah, we might lose now if I make this deal, but we'll have the Doctor to fight.
yeah, that was the thing. She immediately says, "You better get my planet back, old man." She
Yeah,
immediately says that line. Like
yeah,
she has no intention of wanting this to be the status quo, where these alien dudes are like now the leaders of the planet. She immediately expects him to fight back and win.
yeah. And I thought it was really interesting because the monks kept saying that it's got to come from a place of love that they need to be loved. But obviously, we see it when Bill does it and is genuine and it works. It's out of love for the Doctor.
Yeah,
So I think it's really interesting how, they're like, no, we need to be loved, but it's not the love for them that actually lets it work.
yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was strange how like they were setting up these rules as,
I
you've got to love us.
did they ever say that exact line?
They said you have to love, we need to be loved. Like you have to love
Okay,
us. Yeah.
all right, okay. Um, I'd love an answer for you.
No, I thought it was really interesting how they said that multiple times and then it wasn't quite that in the end.
It could just be a simple case of they don't know how to
They
express what
can't
they mean.
differentiate it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's possible.
Or maybe they just didn't know. Maybe it's just as long as the decision's made out of love, it doesn't really matter if the love's directed at them. Maybe they just didn't know that.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me too much.
Oh, it's not that
Really.
it bothers me. I just thought it was an interesting choice almost. It makes them it's like they have a weakness because they can't differentiate between, they can tell that the feeling is there and it's sincere and it is out of love, but they can't tell what it's directed at.
But it's funny, so looking at this, talking about it being serialized, this again, this ends with this, oh no, we're now in this situation directly because of this. And I like that it all built to this big thing where, oh crap, we're kind of in the shitter now as a planet. So,
Yeah. I kind of hope it does go as a three-part rather than go on beyond that, because just for the reason as it would be the first one is the pre-game strategy. The second one is, right, let's try and stop them getting it. And then the third one is, we've lost, we need to get it back.
it depends. It depends how they handle the next one, because I could see the occupation, if you will.
Mm.
I could see that making a good two-parter. Like, if you
Yeah.
really want to sell the fight is hard. Because in
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
they show them as being so, like, just so impenetrable, because they just try and bomb it with a fighter, and they basically just have a tractor beam that catches it and lands it and swaps out their pilots for them, and it's just like, all right, okay, there's nothing we can do physically to them.
Yeah, they're quite a good threat, aren't they?
Yeah, they're definitely my favorite villain of the season so far.
Yeah, and I'm actually really interested to see, how long they last as the villain, because we know we've got to get the Master and Missy stuff at some point. That's obviously been
Yeah, but
set up.
what about this then? What if the threat's so great, Doctor tries and fights it for an episode, it doesn't work, he needs
So he
backup.
brings them in. Yeah, no, that is quite possible. The
Yeah.
only reason that it seems weird for me to that if this is, the season endgame, like they're the big
Mm.
bads, this is weirdly early in the season for Doctor Who to be going around that. It's
I,
definitely breaking the formula.
I say that's good though. I think Doctor Who typically leaves it too late, because typically with Doctor Who it's like a two-parter at the end, and that's
Yeah, yeah, but that's what I expect from Doctor Who. That's what it is. That's what it's been
I,
for a
I
long time.
I think it's perfectly okay to shake it up. I
I'm
think
I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying it's why I don't expect it to be,
yeah,
just because I
because
have these
the
expectations.
last couple of standalone episodes before we got to this were a little bit not amazing. Like some of them had their moments, but the last couple were a little bit on the rougher side, because it was starting to feel like, all right, we need a direction for this season, right? We get it, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
And then this came in, and I really liked last week's, and I like this week's a lot.
Mm.
I'm really into this plot, so and it,
No, I
it
am too.
and it feels like a tangible threat as well, and it's an interesting threat because now they have been given control. I think it's interesting though that Bill can just speak for the entirety of the human race. Like,
Well, they do say why, and I really like the reason. It's the idea that the Doctor, in times of crisis, as they
mm,
reminded us here, is the president of the world, and she's acting as his representative because she's his companion. So that's the only reason why.
I know, but I'm just thinking like then poor Mick and Sally in the street are like, why have we been occupied? We never voted
Well,
for
I
this.
mean, I don't know if you watched the next time on, but that kind of seems to be the point.
I did not watch the next time on. That's interesting.
Just from little glimpses that I got,
Mm.
the idea is they're told, oh, whoever gave them this connection, you kill them and they lose the connection. But no one seems to remember. Like it seems to be like things have changed, like they've always been there.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I never stick around for. I'm actually really glad they moved it to the end of the credits. It's really easy to avoid it now.
Was it not the end of the credits before?
No, I never used to be. Used to go straight into it and then go to the credits.
Fair enough. I always just used to let the credits play out anyway. So
A couple of fun little bits that I really liked. I liked the doctor saying, "Oh, what's all this for?" It's basically telling us bring it, and then he walks past the barrier. Says, "What are you doing?" Bringing it.
yeah, yeah, it's good.
I like that line. That was a fun little exchange. Uh, dear.
I also like obviously Doctor's got his sight back, and I like that it didn't feel cheap. Like because there was a danger, obviously, when it first happened, that it was just going to come back in that episode, and then it
Oh
was
no,
like,
because
okay,
great cost. It came at great, absolute, goddamn, earth-shattering cost.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's got his sight back, but it had a good emotional story beat to it. So there was payoff, and maybe it could have been another episode or two. I was enjoying having him blind and just it lasting because these things never typically last.
Yeah,
But
it
if
lasted
if
longer than I think we thought it was going to, though.
oh, it did, yeah, definitely. But I could almost have enjoyed it lasting the whole season, And the with the regeneration, him going back and going, "Oh, I can see again," and that would have been a great moment as the new Doctor's first moment.
Yeah, I can
But
see it.
this works too.
It's a really good moment though.
It is.
I really like this episode. But barring a few minor nitpicks, maybe like when they are standing around the room just discussing what to do, that maybe like it could have been paced a little bit better, for example. But
Yeah,
minor complaints. I like the threat. I like the mystery of the pyramid. I like the idea of the random thing that's going to start the apocalypse like somewhere on the planet, and they don't even
yeah,
know they're doing it. It's a complete accident. And I like the emotional payoff at the end of setting up this bigger problem with this threat who have now been given carte blanche to do what
yeah.
they please. So,
Yeah. Out of interest, did you prefer this or the last episode?
um, I think I prefer this as a episode as a whole.
Okay. I think I'd have to go with the last one still. Like, this is still very good, and it plays off a lot of, it plays straight out of the last one. But I think overall, I just prefer that.
I think this one was more consistent for me. Uh,
Mm.
but I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
there's
it's
not a
not
lot in
much
it.
in it.
Yeah. So,
No, I agree with that.
there you go. That's Doctor Who episode 7. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out. You can help us out as a bit more than that as well, of course, by going over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. See some of the bonuses you can get over there if you want to support the channel. But otherwise, guys, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Individual Twitters are on the screen. Thank you once again for watching. Have you got any vanilla?